Alright, what is going on YouTube? Bruised here once again, for probably what is my final character guide for 3.22 Ancestor League. Most likely I might come back and do some more stuff, but I wanted to do this character as kind of one last hurrah, as I just had some very weird thoughts in the middle of making a different character, and I wound up making this character. Had a ton of fun with them. Figured this seems like a good send-off character for the league. It just seems like why not, right? Just a whole bunch of just, I'm just gonna take an idea and just throw it together, and I'm gonna see what comes out of it. So this is my he is currently level 91, dual wielding cock, as you can see, although it's more like tri-wielding in all honesty. But we're dual wielding some cock here, which you love to see. But I am a Inquisitor, level 91. See, I have a decent amount of stats here, as far as stat stacking. That just goes along with being a Inquisitor, because it makes your crit chance easier. So then you're actually making your cocks fire all the time. It's awesome. So what are we doing for this build? Well, this is both a Mjolner build and a Cospri's Malice build. If you aren't familiar with what they do, basically, a very simple, I'll just kind of do a very generic way. You can kind of read like what's on each of the items individually. But a very easy thing to just kind of note is that Mjolner is a trigger mace for lightning skills if you hit with something, and Cospri is a crit for cold damage spells. And yeah, it's just a trigger for crit cold spells. And so I've just kind of taken the two and just combined them, and I'm just dual wielding one of each. So and then in the center we have a cyclone with some cast on crit action as well. So we are generating 3 spells as we are spinning around. We have 3 spells going off all the time, dealing a bunch of damage, and it's been a lot of fun to put together. I will say before we start, as far as leveling with this character goes, just because I feel like it's kind of good to get the leveling question out of the way early. Leveling wise, you can do basically whatever you want. Like, it's pretty free reign with this character, and if you do get an Menace, you can start using it at level 20, which kind of really opens you up to use whatever skill you want. Personally, when I originally started this character, I was trying to do him as a dual Nova character, so Ice Nova and Shock Nova. And so I leveled up as Ice Nova first, because you get Ice Nova very early on. I think it's level 12. And then I just changed to Shock Nova later, and I literally just leveled with those until I could put on Cast on Crit. And then by that point, I pretty much already had at least a decent chance to crit, just from Menace, and taking the first ascendancy that you take being Righteous Providence. And so by that point, you kind of have a lot of stats already, and then from your own general pathing, you have enough stats to where you can just you can still kind of level as a cast on crit character, and it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, so that's basically what I leveled as. You can level as pretty much literally whatever you want. There's very much a lot of freedom with this. You could level as a sparking character until you get to maps or however you want to do it. With that, I want to do just at least a quick showcase, just to kind of give like a visual representation of what it looks like to map with this character, and I'll run a Sirus later. That'll be the first time I've done Sirus on this character. I've only killed Shaper with him so far, just as a test. So yeah, this is just kind of a bit of just a showcase of like what mapping looks like, and then I'll kind of talk about the links that the character has, along with the items themselves. But yeah, this character went through a lot of iterations, where my original thought process was set this guy up and do cast on crit, but use Dance with Death instead of actually having a helmet, which Dance with Death is a keystone that makes your critical chance lucky and the damage that you deal with crits also lucky. But it also makes enemies crit damage against you lucky, so you take a lot more damage once you kind of spec into defenses against that. But ultimately, as I was running around with it, a real problem became accuracy. Like, accuracy is very tough to get with this character with the amount of uniques that we're using. So I kind of just changed to using a helmet. And originally I also was doing penetration was just kind of focused on increasing elemental damage that they were taking and doing some penetration stuff. But then I wound up not liking, I wound up not liking that either, and I moved it into this variant, which is using the Inevitable Judgment, so that we just completely ignore elemental resistances because we have 100% crit chance both on spells and on Cyclone while they're standing on stuff. So we have 100% chance to crit, and therefore that just means it's just that much easier to do stuff. Also, you see my health is actually draining while I'm using RM, and that is because and that is simply because of the fact that I just don't have. I could either get some more fire res, or I could get some more life regen, but I'm sort of at a point where I'm pretty satisfied with this character, and I probably won't make too many other adjustments. So regardless, I do restore life if I'm on consecrated ground, and if I've been regenning that recently, thanks to Pious Path. So I'm not super duper worried about that. I am a little bit worried about this. I think this Metamorph is probably going to destroy me, but I'll try my best anyway. I will say I was also using I used Blazing Salvo for a little while. Actually, I used Blazing Salvo for a little while, and that felt pretty good, but at the same time, Blazing Salvo is one where you need to consistently be able to hit all projectiles on your target, or else it just isn't going to be nearly as effective. So I've pretty recently swapped away from it. It was a lot of fun to use, but I think if you want to do Blazing Salvo, you should use a skill that's a bit further, like a Spectral Throw, or probably even a Lancing Steel would also work with Blazing Salvo instead of Cyclone. Cyclone, you're just too close for the orbs as they come out, and you won't consistently hit everything. But yeah, that was a showcase of the mapping with the characters. You can see it really smooth, literally just kind of cut through everything that was in the map, and yeah, it is just quite nice. You have enough, usually with at this point in the character, I have enough like added cold damage and everything to my spells that I pretty much freeze everything, which then also just adds another layer of kind of defense, so you keep yourself alive. You're destroying corpses by them being chilled, or by them being frozen, and then you shatter their corpses, so you don't usually have to worry with on death effects that much, such as porcupines, and you don't have to worry about things hitting you nearly as often if they're frozen all the time. But yeah, that's very much so this character. It is a lot of fun. So let's kind of go over the items really quick, and then and then I'll move into killing Sirus, or at least attempting to. Who knows? Maybe I'll fail miserably. That's entirely possible. And I'll do what's socketed in each thing as we go along as well. So first up, we have Mjolner, of course. This is for triggering our lightning spell. This is one thing that we of course want. You can get one that's a little bit better rolled. I think this goes up to 100% increased lightning damage. The increased fizz damage doesn't matter really, but the increased lightning damage is nice. And then the implicits that are in this, these really don't matter. I would say don't stress about buying one that's like this. I bought this just because I was curious to see how much fortification I would get while I'm cycloning around. The answer is not much. You get, like, sure, I get fortification, but it's like 3 stacks of fortification, so it's really not that much, and it's not that worth. You could do this completely fine with no corruption on Mjolnir, and you'd be okay. And then in here we have Arc stuck in here. This is just a level 21 Arc, very cheap to buy, very strong. But we're just going with Arc. Just has good chaining capabilities, does decent damage by itself, very solid spell. We're putting in. Oh, that's right, I have Divergent Spellblade in here, which you don't necessarily need. You could put something else in here, maybe just like, even an Inspiration, a increased crit multi-damage, something along those lines. I just didn't have another increased crit multi leveled, so I just stuck a Divergent Spellblade in here, which is still fine. Spellblade gives your skills added spell damage equal to a bunch of percentage of your one-handed melee weapons, and if 2 are equipped, then each only contributes 60% as much added damage. That's still fine. It still gives us a lot of added damage to Arc anyway. And the Divergent gives you a 10% chance for damage with hits to be lucky. Lucky just means that it'll roll the damage values twice, and we'll take whichever one is higher and apply that to the enemy. And then the other thing we're doing is Awaken added lightning damage support, just for +1 levels, and a bunch of added lightning damage. pretty generic stuff. Remember, we don't need penetration at all, so Awaken Lightning penetration just isn't anything that we care about. So we're skipping. We'll go up to our helmet. So this is a Archdemon crown, which the base here doesn't matter that much. I would say probably stick to an Armor ES base, mostly because of Eldritch Battery, and I'll go over that a bit later. But probably stick to an Armor ES base. The actual base itself doesn't matter. Again, Archdemon's Crown by default gives your socketed skills, whenever your socketed skill hits something, it applies cold, fire, and lightning exposure to the enemy. But again, we don't care about reducing the enemy's resistances because we already ignore them. So you can just override it if you find a good one. But I think this hat overall is probably just about perfect outside of having some higher tiers on stuff. But this hat is pretty much perfect for what it actually has on it. It has life, it has armor and ES on it. It has accuracy, life regen, and for my case, I needed fire resistance. So those are all things that I view as that were all very necessary for me. I wanted some more armor, needed the ES for Eldritch Battery. Accuracy, again, like I was saying, is a really big deal. Accuracy is hard to get on this build. So the accuracy rating from helmet was very huge, and then the life regeneration, again, very good, and then fire resistance as well. So overall, this hat just rolled very, very well, and then I just stuck a couple of implicits on it, because you can stick the Eldritch Ichor and Eldritch Embers onto the hat, and that'll get rid of the exposure roll on it, and you can instead have something like this. These two rolls aren't the best that you can have in here. I just haven't taken the time to roll over these. I think the best ones you could get is maybe increased spell damage per power charge, maybe, or if you're low on crit chance to your spells, you could roll the increased crit chance on spells. And for the Eldritch Ichor, I think you can roll some other decent stuff. I think there might be mana reservation efficiency in there, which is pretty good, and a few other things. So yeah, I mean, just whatever's better. Also, Sniper's Mark. We're not using Sniper's Mark. This was just what I happened to get when I ran lab with this character, and I am not a lab fiend. I was not going to go back in and keep running it. So we're not using Sniper's Mark. So ideally, you would also have a enchantment here that actually does something for your build. But in here, though, this is just our cast on damage taken support. So we have cast on damage taken, attached to increased duration, and bolt and shell, just for a little bit of extra armor against whenever we do take hits, just to have a little bit of extra oomph to us. And then I have just Frostblink in here as well. Frostblink also is what we're going to be using to move around, because you can use Frostblink while you are spinning. I believe it's Divergent Frostblink is even better, because it gives you more... I believe it gives you an increased cooldown recovery rate, I'm pretty sure, for hitting things. So if you have a Divergent one, that's even better. Amulet-wise, though, we're using Astromanus. Again, like I was talking about, this is just a lot of attributes is all that you want on it. So we just have a bunch of attributes. This one has 96 to all, and 16 on the implicits, and then we're just qualitying it with Intrinsic Catalyst, or Metamorph. That's all that we're doing. We just need a lot of stats. Allocate to Eagle Eye, which is, as you can see here, just accuracy rating, some more crit, and some more accuracy. So it's just accuracy on accuracy, because we need accuracy. We gotta be able to hit stuff. And then let's see, weapon-wise, Cospris. So again, Cospris, you could get trying to think of what else you can get. If you wanted to get a corrupted one, I think you could get a skills fire an additional projectile if you really want to, and then you could use, I think, Ice Spear in here. But I don't know if Cyclone really messes with Ice Spear too much, because you're pretty close range at that point, so you might not be able to get the second stage of Ice Spear off before it hits something, and then it's not dealing nearly as much damage. So that's kind of a play around with it if you want to figure out whatever you want to do with it. But in here, though, we're just going Awaken added cold damage support. This will be eventually a level 5. I just have to, actually level this, or just buy one that's already leveled. I'm using Freezing Pulse right now, along with increased critical damage support. This is almost level 20, and I'll just power it up. But we're using Freezing Pulse. Freezing Pulse is just a very good generic spell that just it pierces everything. It does a lot of cold damage. Has good projectile speed with the quality. It just increases projectile speed. We got a level 21 version. It's just a good spell overall. It is a pretty good hard hitting spell. I have tried a ton of cold spells in Cospri's Malice here. Some other ones I could think of that are at least worth looking into. Ice Spear, like I was saying, if you can get it to second stage consistently. Eye of Winter, also a very strong one, but again, with Cyclone, you're kind of close range, and Eye of Winter deals more damage the further it travels. So that one's kind of a bit more dependent as well. I was running Ice Nova as well. Ice Nova also a very good alternative spell. You're already close range while you're cycloning, so then you're just casting a bunch of Ice Novas while you're doing stuff. Not a bad spell. Not the best, not the worst. You could try Glacial Cascade if you want. Glacial Cascade is another one of those like very hard hitting spells, but with the caveat that the final burst, like where it ends up dealing more damage, but it has to travel out that distance. So it's again a bit of a hard thing to kind of balance. So that was sort of why I landed on Freezing Pulse. It just does all of his damage right up front and it just hits and it keeps going. So I personally like Freezing Pulse. But yeah, there's all sorts of cold spells that you could try out here, and just pick whatever one you like, whatever one fits, and whatever one feels best to you. Give it a go. But yeah, that's Cospri's. Again, this is just our a solid weapon and good for our cold triggers. And yeah, it has a cosmetic on it as well, so don't worry about how it looks. Let's go through. Yeah, we'll just go rings and then chest. Ring wise. Actually, it's probably more important to do Mark of the Shaper first. So Mark of the Shaper gives us Volatile Anomaly. That was like the Shaper balls that follow you around and then do the explosion and leave the dot on the ground. So that's what is creating those is Mark of the Shaper. So you have Mark of the Shaper, add some lightning damage to spells, gives us some life. Added spell damage if our other ring is an Elder item, and can't be stunned by spells if our other item is a Shaper item. Which then leads us to the ring, which is both Elder and Shaper. And because of that fact, they both combine and we both have a ton of resistance, or we have a ton of spell damage added, and we can't be stunned by spells. Although that actually kind of doesn't matter anymore. I'll go over that in a second. And then this really isn't actually. This is a pretty terrible roll. I would like to get a better one. Honestly, I don't even think I need the Diamond Ring base anymore. I think Diamond Ring is probably the worst base I could have. I could probably do better with an Amethyst Ring, or a 2-stone ring, or a Elemental damage, an Opal Ring instead. But, you know, this is what I have, and it is what it is. Otherwise, I just rolled some intelligence on it. Hit all resistances, which was also something I very much so needed. And then the added cold damage against chilled or frozen enemies. And guess what? We're chilling. We are chilling and freezing enemies, so that is just more added damage. And then yeah, the evasion rating doesn't really do anything. I just crafted some life on it, and then I had an open suffix again, and I slammed it and hit strength. Nothing crazy. This ring, very easy to replace. It's pretty much a nothing ring. It just has some resistances on it, and really isn't that big of a deal. Next up, let's go over the chest piece. Chest piece. We have ourselves an Astral Plate that is both Hunter and... oh man, what's her name? Redeemer. Veritania. Hunter and Redeemer influenced, and then 6-linked white socket, all that good stuff. It's not that. This also isn't anything super duper insane as well. Obviously, the reflect damage to melee attackers I absolutely despise, and I really wish I could get rid of it, because literally having anything crafted there would be better. But I know my luck. I know my luck very well. If I hit this with an Annulment Orb, I would either hit the attack crit or the Frenzy Charge, and then I would be sad. So I'm not gonna bother re-rolling this thing. I could, and it probably wouldn't actually be that expensive. It'd probably be pretty easy to roll a better one. But the main points here that we want, attacks additional crit chance that just again makes it easier for Cyclone. You can also get, if your Cyclone is already pretty much guaranteed to crit, maybe your spells need a bit more of a pickup, then you could also roll this for spells have increased critical strike chance, or both, whatever you want to do. And then the gain frenzy charge on hit is the Redeemer mod, which is just a very good. It's actually a very, very good mod to hit, because then we have a way to generate frenzy charges. Frenzy charges equal good. And then otherwise, you know, nothing crazy. Life regen is still good. If it was a higher tier, that'd be much better. Life good should be better. Armor good should be better. And the reflect damage sucks. Doesn't do anything. And not, so not anything super crazy on this astral plate, but there it is. And let's see. Otherwise, we have so we're doing cyclone like you were seeing. Spin. That's our build. We spin. And in here we have I'm using Phantasmal Purifying Flame. This I just recently threw in here. Go over that in a second. Increased critical damage support just for a big boost to our crit multi. Fizzle Lightning support. This is just for additional damage for converting this to lightning. So this does a 50-50 split of fire and lightning damage now, which is completely fine. And then we have Awaken Cast on Critical Strike support. It's better than Cast on Crit. Therefore use, if you can. But it's not that big of a deal. Regular Cast on Crit will hold you over perfectly fine until you can grab yourself one of these. And then an Awaken added lightning damage support. Again, just a ton of added lightning damage, and since we do a lot of added lightning damage already, this is just the best generic option, even if Purifying Flame is not obviously a lightning skill. So yeah, so then Purifying Flame, the thing about Phantasmal is it increases the effect of our Consecrated Ground, and since we're an Inquisitor, which has taken Sanctuary and Pious Path, well, we're putting Consecrated Ground all over the place, which in that case, that makes increasing the effect of it even better. So do it where you can. So yeah, so we have Purifying Flame here with Consecrated Ground. As we're triggering that is creating Consecrated Ground for us. So we're creating all sorts of powerful Consecrated Ground for ourselves all the time, which is very, very nice. So that is the reason to use Purifying Flame. But again, like I said, I was using Blazing Salvo. I've tried a bunch of things here. I had Shock Nova in here for a while. I did Firestorm in here for a while if you really don't care about visual clarity. I've done all sorts of things. Just try out whatever seems the most fun to you. But I've landed on Purifying Flame, and I think it's actually both a good time and is a pretty safe and strong option. Yeah, so let's go into gloves. Glove-wise, these could actually be... these could be a little bit better for sure, but these aren't bad by any means, so I actually won't knock these that hard. The implicits, if anything, I would say could use to be stronger, and I'll probably reroll these, except for the increased global accuracy, because again, you need accuracy, and my chance to hit right now, it's 99, so it's decent, it's good enough. Even evasive being at 90 is still fine, but if you dip below, I feel like if you dip below 90%, that's when it starts to get a little sketchy. And you can get, if you manage to fill your resistances elsewhere, you could instead put accuracy on your gloves, and then, what do you know? You're in an even better place accuracy-wise, and then you don't have to worry about it as much. But the gloves themselves, you know, nothing crazy. All that we care about, we have life regen right here, which is, again, just good since we're doing, as we are burning ourselves with Righteous Fire. And, yeah, otherwise the rest is just, it's life resistances and armor. Good enough. In here, though, we have oh, that's right. I was running this just for the heck of it. We do not need this. Because now I'm running a regular Purifying. You know, we'll level this in the back. That's fine. So I have an open slot here, and I don't know what to put there yet. I have not thought too hard about what goes there. And then Righteous Fire, like I was saying, so we are constantly burning ourselves, but we're dealing more spell damage for it. Righteous Fire is a very, very good effect if you are actually able to sustain it and not burn yourself alive. So, you know, if you can, like I was saying, life regen, very good. And then obviously on that same note, Vitality. We're using a Vitality. Get a level 21 Vitality if you can. Easier to fit in. Still gives you even more life regen. Life regen equals good. Determination here, we're using a level 21 Determination that I happen to get. Level 20 Determination, totally fine, obviously. If you get the even thicker Determination, Divergent maybe, that's also very good. Not very necessary, but it's good. And yeah, that's our main source of defense right there. Only have 73% phys damage reduction, but it's still pretty good. So Determination is good. And then belt-wise here, that's right, I rolled this recently. this belt just rolled a ton of resistances, which was fantastic because I did need, at the time I needed resistances. Obviously the increased mana from the prefix and the increased flask life recovery effect really doesn't matter at all. So then I just crafted some life, but otherwise the big resistances, all of the resistances that are there I needed, and so I just got really lucky and hit a good tri-res belt. But it being a shaper belt doesn't matter at all. I just happen to have one from a different character, so I just used this because it was a high enough eye level, and just happened to roll well. So whatever goes well for you there, just use that. Make sure it fits your resistances. I think maybe there is something cool that shaper can roll, and you could use that instead. Whatever you want to do, that's all up to you. Hypnotic Eye Jewel here. This is just, just has some added damage to us, some more life, and then some fire and lightning resist, because at the time I didn't need those resistances, and I still kind of do. If I took that out, I would be, I'd be just over cap on lightning res, and fire res would be close. So, just had a little bit of resistances. Just had a little bit of resistances put into that. Ooh, excuse me. Yeah, just whatever you need to fit into your jewel. But ideally, you get some damage, you get some life, and then whatever else you need. This jewel slot is very flexible. Boot wise, so we have some life regen, we got some resistances, we have some move speed, we have crafted life. Not the most insane boots in the world. I was originally planning to make these Tailwind boots, because that's why these are Hunter. I was going to do some Tailwind Hunter two-tone boots, but then it hit these rolls, and I was like, you know what? I actually really need the life. I really need the life regen, and tier 2 Chaos Res is good, and I still needed some Cold Res, so I just went, you know what? That is honestly not that bad. I will just take it. So I just have been rolling with these boots ever since. I could just throw an Exalted Orb on them. Hey, you know what? Maybe I will. I'll do that right now. Do it live. And I'll kind of go over what we're using in here. Alright, cool. Just more armor. More armor is good. Nothing wrong with that. More armor NES. So, okay, very nice. In these boots, we're using Assassin's Mark. That is going to be our primary mark and our only curse that we are using. Assassin's Mark equals good. Then we're using Mark on Hit. This should have 20 quality on it. I don't know if I'm probably just gonna buy some gem cutters and then just level it up, honestly. Then we're using a precision. Again, with precision, if you want to, and if you have enough mana regen, or mana reservation, you could instead get a level 21 precision, and that would make things even nicer for you from an accuracy perspective. But again, I'm at 99% at level 91, so it's not that big of a deal. I just walked back into the map. I hate everything. But it's not that big of a deal. It's just a nice thing to have. And then Anomalous Wrath, which this is a little bit min-maxy, but I had it on a different character already. But Anomalous Wrath just increases the effect of the aura, which the aura just gives us a bunch of added lightning damage and also more spell lightning damage. So just a good aura to be running in general. And then the Anomalous version just gives us more. You could probably run Zealotry here again if you really cared about the crit, but I don't, and anyone to make more Consecrated Ground, but I don't think that matters. Hatred would be a good secondary option. I'm sure POB will probably tell you Anger is the best because it's just flat added. So yeah, that's kind of it. And then flask-wise, nothing that insane. We got a Life Flask, we got a Silver Flask, Quicksilver, Granite, and a Bottled Faith. Bottled Faith it's nice. It's nice, but not necessary entirely. You could instead include something else defensive here if you needed that instead, or didn't have the money to throw at a Bottled Faith. I would say that's kind of one of the last things. Ascendancy-wise, I was telling you, take Righteous Providence first. That is true. Take Righteous Providence first. Gives you the early crit chance. Early damage is good. And then second and third labs, take Sanctuary, Pious Path, and then finish it off with Inevitable Judgment, as long as you have enough crit. If you don't have enough crit yet, just take Augury of Penitence, and then come back and take Inevitable Judgment once you have enough crit to where you can just be ignoring everything's resistances. But yeah, otherwise, tree-wise, let's take a look. So we're going down and around. We're taking the accuracy node right here, because accuracy good. And then we're taking Holy Dominion, Light of Divinity, and that's because over here we're taking a Brutal Restraint, which is for Asana. Like I was saying, I originally was going to do this as a Dance with Death, so I wasn't wearing a hat for a while, and I was doing this for a little bit. So I kind of rolled this with Dance with Death in mind, but there might be a better one just in general and in total. But I'm kind of too lazy at this point to actually look elsewhere. I think this is still fine because we actually kind of need the dexterity nodes as well. So this is probably still at the end of the day a decent one to take. Maybe having more increased effect of non-curse auras or more global accuracy or more crit chance if you need it could be a little bit better. But overall, it's a decent placement for this, and it's not a bad roll. So like I was saying, so this one here for Devotion hits non-curse auras. The one over here for Divine Judgment just hits 20% increased elemental damage, so it just gives us, we just get a fat amount of elemental damage from Divine Judgment, more so than it already gives. And then over in Light of Divinity and Holy Dominion gives us accuracy and critical strike chance. Both just decent things to have. Like I said though, maybe there's something better, maybe not, maybe this is as good as it gets. I don't really know. Just make sure you have enough dexterity to be able to wield Cospris, which does take 212 dexterity, so it is a bit of a pain to hit that point, and that's kind of why another reason I like this jewel. But yeah, otherwise we're taking Tireless, because reduced cost of mana skills is good, or reduced cost of mana skills. I mean, I guess it's not wrong. The reduced cost of skills is good, but even with that, we are still taking Energy Blade, or there's too many EBs. Eldritch Battery. We're taking Eldritch Battery, which feels a little bit awkward to have to come up here and take these 2 points here just to get Eldritch Battery, but it is necessary. We're casting a lot of spells. We're casting them frequently, so we need to have. We need to be taking this. And then yeah, if you put a Thread of Hope right here, you can actually hit a lot of good things. This is a medium ring Thread of Hope. So while you're already pathing over here, taking your additional max power charge, Disciple of the Forbidden, and Deep Thoughts with Mana Mastery, you can also be taking Breath of Lightning, Breath of Rhyme. You can hit Breath of Flames. You can grab Cruel Preparation. If you want to, you can hit Frostwalker down here. If you want some more regen or some more intelligence, whatever you want. Arcane Will right there, not too shabby either. So there's a bunch of good things. Remember, you can take Heart of Thunder. You don't need it though, because it gives you more damage penetration, and we don't care about damage penetration. But the 30% increased lightning damage is still good, so it's up to you. But Heart of Thunder is still a decent pick, but I'm just taking Breath of Lightning for the increased effect of lightning ailments regardless, because that's nice. The next couple of levels, I would probably just take Breath of Flames and Frostwalker. Those would be the next 2 big points to take for this build. Otherwise, and then we are taking, again, because we're sort of stacking strength and intelligence for our crit nodes. We are taking the Utmost Intelligence here along with the passive for 5% increased attributes. And then we're also traveling way down here, and we're taking Utmost Might for the increased strength. Both very good nodes, and while you're traveling on the way, just grab the life nodes. Again, if you leveled up enough, you take the basic jewel slot here, and you can put something else there, like more crit multi jewel. We have a ton of strength, so Iron Will also becomes very worth it. Gives you a very good amount of damage to your spell damage. Just for this point, and while you're over here, you might as well grab Constitution. More life equals more good. I think the last thing I'll go over on the tree is kind of generic otherwise. The last thing I'll go over on the tree is just the Cluster Jewel here. Cluster Jewel is a increased lightning damage one. We have Doriani's Lesson, Overshock, and Storm Rider. Doriani's gives us increased elemental damage and some leech. Overshock gives us lightning damage and increased effect of lightning elements, and Storm Rider gives us power charges. This is how we gain power charges. Very consistent way to get them. Very comfy way to get them. So yeah, I do highly recommend. You could probably switch out some of these if you need to, but I always recommend getting Storm Rider, and Doriani's is just a very comfy thing, so I would at the very least recommend getting these two together. And then small cluster wise, we are just doing a couple of crit chance jewels. So we have pressure points, quick getaway here, quick getaway, more move speed, more crit, more attack cast speed is good. Pressure points gives us a chance to deal double damage with our crits. And then over here we're doing basics of pain, pressure points, again, double damage. Basics of pain is just more damage and then increased critical strike chance. And then the last few levels, and this will kind of make the build comfortable, because you can be stunned for a while, and you'll feel yourself stop the cyclone and then start it back up, and it'll be a little bit uncomfortable. So when you have enough money for it, and when you could, you should grab yourself an immutable force. At least probably around 900%. I think this was 1.5 divines, 1.5 divines, maybe 2. For a 900%. You can still be stunned, but 900% increased stun and block recovery is so fast that you will not feel it. So that makes the smoothness of spinning around with Cyclone much better, and it makes the build feel a whole lot better. If you want to, you can combo it as well for another like 1.5, 2 divines for Blood Notch, which gives us damage taken from stunning hits is recovered as life. So that's just more recovery we get right there. If we get stunned, then we heal from that instead of, or we heal at least a portion of it instead of just being stunned and moving on with our lives. Yeah, that's basically, oh yeah, and the Watcher's Eye that I have is increased crit multi while affected by precision and life recovery rate for vitality. This was, I think, 5 divines, so a fairly pricey one, but it's not the most giga insane huge Watcher's Eye that's out there. Yeah, and that's sort of it for the tree. Pretty generic otherwise, and again, I will have the POV, of course, down in the description below if you are interested in the character at all. And with that, let's give Sirus the old college try, because I have not fought Sirus on this character at all. So I'm gonna pause the background music I have going on, because I love the Sirus fight. I love the music. Sirus fight itself, oh, it is a good time.
Did you really think this would work?
I did think this would work.
Please, we want to help you. Don't do anything hasty.
Destroying you is as easy as flicking a purse.
No.
Up. No, Kirik.
How
Also, I'm gonna make myself a
boring
little
and
bit smaller.
small.
Okay.
You want the Atlas? Take it. It's yours.
It's for me?
Or if I will burn to the ground. Perhaps the suffering of my fellow.
So yeah, this video went a little bit longer than I was anticipating. There was way more in this character that I decided to just kind of go over. Whoops. But I think it was worth it to kind of go over all of it. There's still a lot to this character, and he is a ton of fun so far. So hopefully this Sirus kill goes well, because I have not tested this, so I might just get completely bopped by Sirus here and can't do it. I feel like I would be pretty surprised if that's the case. As I say that, I was not paying attention. That's my bad. Man, that's how I feel about Sirus in general. I cannot, for whatever reason, I am just so dumb when it comes to his first phases before you transition. I'm so dumb. Like, I just can't pay attention to his, his form up top doing additional things. So if it does Fury of the Cosmos while it's up there, I just usually completely mess it up. So, just like that. Don't mind me. Whoops. Alright, please don't do it again. Oh my god. Okay, no, I'm actually gonna brick this Sirus. That's a really good showing for this character, don't you think? I mean, I'm still just gonna leave it in the video. I don't really care if it makes the character look terrible. I did at least kill Shaper, so I at least confirmed, like, boss killing is completely doable. I think I'm just playing like an idiot when it comes to fighting Sirus here. Which is true, I am. But I shouldn't be getting hit by his stupid puddles. And I feel like his puddles don't usually stick around really well, but... Why do they stick around so much? Oh no. Oh, it's because you have to do the phase transition. I have no idea. I feel like they really don't stick around that much. Say, I was say, I'm not doing Uber serious, am I? Because I have literally never done anything Uber. No, because then I would have the storms in the middle. Bro. Oh, also, you don't have to once you're running Eldritch Battery, you don't have to worry about regen anymore on your mana for your skills, because it'll make Pious Path and everything, all that stuff makes your life regen apply to your mana as well. So you wind up having a ton of mana regen. You wind up having a ton of mana regen because of Eldritch Battery. Okay, I'm recovering. I'm recovering a little bit. Oh. Good question, buddy. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Okay. Alright. I think I believe in myself in final phase. I think I'll be okay at the final phase at the very least. We'll see. We'll see. I had a mini choke in the early game, but we're good. We're recovering. I think he's like up on the stairs. I hate fighting him on the stairs. I'd rather you not. Or is he right here? Oh, he's definitely on the stairs. I'd rather not. Can you coast back over here, buddy? Over this way? I have to fight him on the stairs. Yeah, at the very least, with all of his hits, as long as you aren't dying, as long as you aren't being one-shot by things, you'll recover. Alright, I do have to fight him on the stairs. That sucks. But it is what it is. Also, I'm kind of worried about his spinning beam phase, but we'll see how it goes. Actually some very, very, very solid damage. I did not think this was going to roast him that much. Ooh. That wasn't bad at all. Okay, outside of my death, but that's my own fault. That's not actually anything to do with the character. But that actually, final phase, I actually put out way more damage than I was anticipating. So that was not bad at all. I really didn't know what to expect there. So I can't complain about that. Not bad at all. I think with that...
knows what sorrows beset the path we must walk.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot he has lines. I forgot he has lines for killing Sirus. Anyway, YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this video, this look into this final character for the League. I'm not sure if I'll do anything else. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But regardless, ToTA has been a fantastic League. It has been just an absolute ton of fun to play. I'm super excited for whatever comes next from Path of Exile, as per usual. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them below. I will have the POB, of course, listed in the description as well. Feel free to follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/bruised, if you are interested. Who knows what I'll be streaming or when, but I'm doing my best. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. As always, YouTube, have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.